What's up YouTube, Down here from Zephyr War Games, and today I am bringing you commentary over top of a live duel from local. So on the top we have Aiden playing Bystial Dragon Link, and on the bottom we have Shane playing Spright. So obviously this is with Dark Wind Blast, completely legal, so there is brand new support, hence the Bystial deck. So it looks like Shane won the dice roll and he will be going first. So we're going to be normal summoning blue, which is obviously always going to be a bad sign when you have to normal summon a Spright monster, especially summon a blue. So he definitely opened up double on that one. At least with no response, he is going to get the ability to search out a jet, or I would naturally assume a jet, and then continue to make his plays from there. So I can't really see. I think there's a Veiler in Aiden's hand. Can't really see too much on that. Ignore those little bits that are coming up on the camera. That's just me playing around with the live stream version. So I will try and put some of the cards up on screen for you guys as well, so you can see when I talk about specifically the new cards as well, so you know or have an idea of how they play. So he's going to special summon out Jet. Jet is then going to allow him to special summon or search out a starter. And then activate starter, and you're ideally at this point you want to get orange because then you know you're protected from Nibiru. So apart from the normal summon not being ideal, it has given Shane the ability to pretty much go off uninterrupted. If that is a Veiler in the hand, I would like to think that maybe well no, because even a Veiler on the second blue just stops getting Jet and orange, and then he still makes Gigantic, and Gigantic still makes a play. So I mean, obviously going into Gigantic now, you're going to attempt to use the effect of Gigantic. Usually, that is when he is met with some form of interruption, but obviously with orange on the board, the only reason or the only way you're really doing that is you get your opponent to use up one of their monsters. It can be a little bit tricky because, I mean, the fact that orange has to tribute something that isn't itself, leaves it on the board, can be very, very troublesome to kind of deal with. So it's just going to constantly float there. Shane obviously attempts to activate the effect Gigantic, no response, or resolution, detach a material and search or special summon out Toad or Swap Frog. And then this is obviously the new way of making Swap Frog or Totally Awesome without a Dupe Frog. So exactly as I would assume it to be made, you Gigantic out a Swap Frog if you haven't normaled it, send a Swap Frog, and then you overlay 2 and get into a elf and then bring back the other Toad. So I think at this moment in time there's not a huge amount that Aiden can really do, bar something like a Veiler on the orange and then a Nibiru. It's going to look very, very tough to get where to kind of pull this board apart. So summon of elf. Again, I mean, I suppose this is a kind of a good way or a good position, because if you Veiler the elf, it then forces his opponent to either negate with orange to guarantee the Toad, or which would sacrifice the elf, or it would end the turn at that point. Well, not end the turn, but stop the turn of point. It would stop the Toad resolving. But it looks exactly that. He definitely wants the Totally Awesome on the board, so he's going to tribute the tribute the elf using orange effect to bring back the Swap Frog and let that resolve. I suppose that's probably the maximum value you could imagine to have from the Veiler, because I mean you could Veiler Toad at this point but it wouldn't really get you anywhere. Oh, set 3 as well. That's just horrible. One of them's definitely a Smashers. But then you're looking at the idea of facing down a Smashers. I've always found this a little bit odd. I get it. You want to protect the orange more so than anything. But, I mean, in a format where Super Poly is running around, it's a little bit risky. Like, there's been a couple of times when I've played against the Sprites players and they've done this and I've gone Super Poly, or it's unlocked a Raw Sphere mode in my hand. Obviously Raw Sphere mode is a little bit more specific for a particular time, but I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. I mean, he hasn't even brought out Dupe for us, so it's not even like an attack lock. So it's also, I suppose, getting bodies on the board. It also can get met with a Gamma. It can get met with some form of interruption. I suppose that's the one way you do it, is it does give you a body for orange, which he has negated the Water Enchantress from hand. Oh, you already opened up right. No. He's got 3 more cards left in hand after this. It depends if Shane wants to interact. Steal his opponent's right, which would be pretty funny because then you get your own token. So he's going to summon out his token. He's going into attack mode, so this will obviously deal with orange. And I suppose you're kind of trying to build for the Draco back to bounce the Toad, and then you set up a Griffin to protect. But we know that there is definitely a Smashes along that back row. I mean, I'm still surprised as to exactly what else could be along that back row. I know they've got Double Cross and cards like that, so it'll be interesting to see where it develops and where it goes from here. But at the moment, he's got the Adventure. He's going to be able to pretty much use the effect, search a Griffin and ditch. The idea, he's obviously trying to get a normal summon to the board or a monster to the board, and it's not usually a good sign unless you want a card from your hand into the graveyard to gain some form of advantage to be doing it this way. Oh, it's Absolouter. Nice. So it obviously gets to discard Absolouter, and then you'll get to use the effect there. This is going to allow him to get a rocket, so you obviously go for Tracer. Keeping in mind, because he's activated Rite of Armorisia, he's not going to be able to get a normal summoned monster's effect on the board. But you can just normal summon Tracer, turn it into Strike a Dragon, and then go pretty much Dragon Link combo from there. So there's definitely ways around it and definitely ways to play it differently. So he's going to activate Griffin in hand to attempt to special it. I mean, at this point, the fact that he's let it go through definitely means that we know 100% there's a Smashes along that back row. Because then it means that anything that Shane does, if he tries to activate Toad to negate, and then Aiden responds with Griffin, you just then chain Smashes. It will clean Shane's entire board out, though. That's the issue with Smashes right now. Banish 1 from the grave and then banish orange on the field. So trying to see what that is in hand. Is that a Magnamut? It is a Magnamut. So this is obviously the first Bystial that we're going to see. So he banishes Gigantic from the graveyard, special summon it down, and it triggers the effect on the summon that in the end phase to search out a rocket monster or a dragon, basically. If it's like a level 8 or lower dragon, which is really cool because it can search out itself, it can search out any D-Link starter, which is really kind of cool. I'll put that up on the screen for you guys to see, as it is one of the new cards as well. So carrying on through this. Ooh, one of them's an Imperm. I mean, I shouldn't really be too surprised on that. So he's going to try and Imperm the Griffin. Now, the question is, do you tag the Griffin out? Do you now go, okay, cool, well, attempt to use Griffin's effect to bait out the Toad, but then all you're really doing is negating the Imperm, whereas you're probably better off just having that monster on the board. I'm still surprised there's been no Draco back yet. So I really want to hope that he hasn't opened it, but if he has, that's pretty sad. Is he going to chain the effect? Because if he chains the effect, he loses a body on board. The only benefit of doing that is it would not lock the back row if he really wants it unlocked. So, which I'm assuming the way he's done this is he's normal summoned Rocket and then gone Chainlink 2 or Chainlink 1. The Fateful to search out the Draco back, and then his opponent's obviously activated Imperm. Now, lessons learned, you probably put it in a different zone. That looks like double cross to me. So again, I'll put this up on the screen so you can see this. It gives basically the ability to pop cards or steal cards and a second Imperm. Jeez. So he steals it as a material. So he steals Griffin as a material and Imperms it. Wow, okay, so it must have been like, I don't know, Chainlink 1 Fateful? Chainlink 2 Imperm to negate the Fateful, negate the Griffin. Chainlink 3 Griffin. Chainlink 4 Double Cross. Chainlink 5 Imperm. I'm not sure why you would need to activate the second Imperm though. I know the double cross doesn't negate, but I'm not sure if Griffin needs to spin back to negate. Is it like negate and then spin back? But I thought because it has to be. I mean, if it can't spin back, surely it can't negate. Maybe. So he could have kept the imperm. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but if that was the case, sure. I mean, this would be pretty funny. So you've got a Magnum up plus a Tracer. Gives you a level 10 synchro, which is kind of cool. So he gets the ability for Baron to pop Toad. Toad hasn't used his effect, so obviously effect of Toad to try and negate, and then you're never going to let that resolve. Of course you're going to negate the Toad, otherwise it's going to destroy and then steal the Baron, which isn't something you want. So I need to try and figure out. I'm 99% sure on this, but I just wanted to double check a question on. I'll pull Infinite Impermanence up. Obviously we know that the back rows are going to be completely locked out. Take one face up once your opponent controls, negate its effects. Then if this card was set before the activation for the rest of this turn, yeah, it's all other spells and traps. For some reason, there was part of my brain that went, is it all other cards in the column? I mean, it would be ridiculous if it was. But yeah, kind of cool. It's interesting that he's been able to play through this. So in the end phase, he searches out Druid Worm. Druid Worm gives the ability to, again, exactly like Magnum Up, if your opponent controls a monster, quick effect, banish a light or dart from either graveyard, special summon it, and then if it is sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to target and send one monster your opponent controls or a special summon monster your opponent controls. Again, I'll put that up on the screen so you guys can see it as well as we go. Obviously, during standby phase, Aiden has selected to activate the Baron effect to tribute itself off to get the Griffin back, which is really important because it does give him an Omni Negate on the board, and then he's going to trigger the Fateful Adventure to get him the Draco back, which basically just means the token will be protected from battle one time. So yeah, I think lesson learned, he'll definitely be putting Fateful Adventure in a column that is not occupied by an opponent's spell or trap already, because you never know if it's going to be Imperm or not, and then work it back from there. Because I think if that had resolved last round, even with the other Imperm and everything like that, if you were still able to get the Draco back, that would then give you a way to bait out the Toad without your opponent even being able to do anything. So it looks like they're scooping it up there. Yeah, very interesting. I'm not sure if an Imperm was wasted. I could be completely wrong. Maybe I can't imagine it would be able to negate without being able to spin back. So at least if the Imperm was kept, he could have, with hindsight 2020, Imperm the Baron, and then the Baron would be forced to negate. The Baron wouldn't be able to negate anything, and then you would have stolen the Baron, which is pretty funny. So yeah, they're going into the side decks. They're going to swap this out. It'll be interesting to see what Shane puts in. Obviously, Dragon Link itself is quite well known, but it's the Bystials that are a little bit unknown, and it's less so. I mean, you can already tell what the monsters do. Like the normal, basically, apart from Lubellion, you're like, right, okay, well, the monsters are basically walking, talking DD Crows with a little bit extra. Whereas the Lubellion, which you didn't get to see in Game 1, and the spell and the trap you didn't get to see in Game 1, would possibly cause more of an issue for Shane. Without knowing exactly what they do or anything like that, it can be very, very difficult. So without the insider knowledge when going into this duel, you're not really going to be fully prepared. And what I mean by that is you're not going to know exactly what Lubellion does, exactly what the spell and trap does, to kind of counteract everything your opponent's going to throw at you. So it will be interesting. On the other side, Sprites have been around long enough that you should be able to figure out exactly how they play. It will be very interesting because I think, like, again, I don't know what their side decks are like, but you could probably imagine something like Droll and Lockbirds could be coming in, anti-spells could be coming in. I feel, again, this is also quite a technique that a lot of players adopt, is that you can take a full-on risk and go, you know what, my opponent is going to be so prepared to go second that if I play this correctly, I can actually make my opponent go first, and they brick on all go second cards. Now, obviously, it's risky because sometimes that will backfire, and they will open up full combo regardless, or you don't open up the board breakers you expect to see. But it does kind of let you put the fate of the outcome in your hands, in a sense. So, it'd be interesting to see from here. I will try and skip forward this part as well, so we don't just watch them side. Okay, so we skip forward a little bit there. They are now going into game 2. It looks like Shane has opted to go first, and he's going to start off with a starter. I think I missed on the last one. I didn't adapt the life point, so I do apologise for that one. I think on the last one I didn't take the starter into account with the overlay. These are just new overlays that I'm trialling out, and I tried to do for the live stream. So it's something that I will look at for the future to adapt these on a more kind of live basis. Yeah, so I'll keep that in mind. So we guarantee the search of the star, the smashes off of the back of the star. We haven't had a normal summon yet, which is interesting. You might consider that maybe there isn't a starter in the hand, or he wants to get some form of guaranteed interruption before that, to see if there's also anything in his opponent's hand. Now, I believe this is the non-adventure engine. This is none of the spell ones, the runics at all either. This is pretty much just pure Spright. Special summon down the blue searches out your orange, which is fine because then you special summon down the orange. The fact that they don't activate in the hand, they just go woof and come down is crazy. It looks like he's changing the orange for a carrot, worried about that imperm and worried about that evenly matched, which makes sense because, I mean, well, yes and no. We already know that his opponent plays Veiler and his opponent plays Gamma. You might want to consider that maybe Gamma would have been dropped early on. Ooh, swappy swap, boy. Normal summon swap, boy. Send swap, boy. Well, we know where this is going. So this is the other one as well. So a lot of people are like, oh yeah, the Toad engine is dead. It's really not. It's just a little bit more difficult. It's not as unga bunga cool. Summon this from or send this one. I've got combo. It does make you use a bit more resource, which I think is completely fine. I think it balances out a little bit. The elf loop is still a giant pain in the backside, but that's neither here nor there. Now at this point, I would be very, very careful. I would want to make gigantic now. Yeah, exactly this, and then activate its effect. Now, obviously, it's risky because you activate its effect, you can get hit by Imperm, Veiler, Gamma, Ash. Oh, we had the cool bite. Yo! That is very risky, though. Like, I would have held back the Swap Frog. I can't imagine why you would normally summon a Swap Frog. Because, like, unless he knows that Aiden is or is not playing Imperm, if he knows he's got the call by the grave, so he knows he's going to be able to deal with any monster hand trap. Unless there's double Veiler. So surely you go for carrot. On your third summon, you special summon down the carrot. Oh, like I said, it's still even then, with the carrot, you'd still need to tribute the gigantic to negate if it wasn't imperm. Oof. Okay, fine. Maybe it wasn't as safe as I first thought it would be. Okay. Well, it looks like he's got our orange. He's debating what he's going to summon from the deck. So he summons out the orange. He's now protected from monster effects. Not that there should be anything at this point during his turn that will cause an interruption. But see where it kind of goes from here. There's definitely carrot in hand, so he's going to be protected from a trap and a monster. Unless his opponent just goes, okay, Dart Ruler, GG. There's obviously the ability... I mean, he's going to have to use an extender. We know he's got smashes in the hand. But he's going to have to use an extender to leave that Swap Frog on the board in order to complete the Toad play. So he's going to get rid of the orange, which is fine because, like I said, he can't be Nibiru'd. So you really do not worry about anything, really. Like, there's no threat of any monster effect right now. The only reason you'd be saving that is for during your opponent's turn, which you're going to have with Toad as an omni to get anyway. So... unless he's worried that his opponent's going to be playing Ultimate Slayer, and then you just woof, GG, bruh. I think he's looking at Sprint. He's trying to figure out if it's worth playing. I'll put Sprint up on the screen as well, just so you can see what exactly it does. which is exactly what he summons. It's kind of cool because it has the ability of a nice Foolish Burial, but then it also has the ability of a nice bounce back as well. So that's kind of cool to deal with the tier elements, because the tier elements can cause a lot of issues. Constantly floating, going around the graveyard, you name it, it can be very, very difficult to kind of deal with. So we're activating the Sprint effect. Sprint is going to Foolish Burial the Nimble Angler. God, that card's gone up in price. Nimble Angler. So because you've got a direct way of sending it from your deck to the graveyard, it does give the ability to basically get free 2 level 2s on the board. It does come later games, so it is basically a win more option at this point. I still find it funny that the Elf and Sprint are being used in tiers more than they are being used in, well, more effective in tiers than they are in their own deck. Crazy. But now you kind of need to go into... Ooh, did he just bounce the swap back to hand using its own effect? Oh, Bujinki it's not Amaterasu. Amishima? So this one lets you special 2 monsters, one from the hand, one from the grave at the same level, and then instantly make a rank 2. That's pretty spicy, because then you summon down the swap, and you summon back a swap from the grave, and then it instantly makes you XYZ with them, so you go straight into a toad. That's funny. The issue is it can't be used for... the Bujinki can't be used for link fodder, like summoned. Did he need to do that? I mean, it means he doesn't go elf, which is interesting. He went the Bujinte instead of elf, which I think they pretty much have the same outcome, right? There's not really much different. So I think that's just like an overextension flex. It's like, yeah, but check out my big brain play. And now, if I remember rightly, I saw Aiden's hand on this, and it was quite funny because it was Gamma. I think he drew Gamma for turn. And then he had a Rite of Armoricia, which is activated now, and then he had 3 Quick Launch, and he was just trying to bait that Toad out. He was like, okay, Rite of Armoricia, let's try and see if Toad wants to negate and steal that. We obviously know there's a Smashers along the back row because he searched it. He changed Quick Launch to the Rite of Armoricia, trying to get a response from that Toad. Shane literally, I was watching this, Shane did stop and think, and he's like, and you can see that he's touching the Toad there. He's like, do I? He's like, no, it's fine. And then he went, Quick Launch. And it's like, okay, at this point, you can see the desperation coming into play. Like, I think Shane kind of realised, he was like, yeah, I'm not falling for that. Get that out of here. So that's quite funny. So Rite of Armoricia plus 2 Quick Launches. He's going to be able to get, like, a fairly full board. But then the question remains, like, where do you go? Do you bring out 2 level 4s because you're not then really going to be going anywhere? You can try and link climb if you want to, but it looks like he's going for the level 1 rockets, and then he'll probably go for Tracer, I would assume. And then you get the level 4. You'd complete the Rite as well, so you'd get the Adventure to the board. And yeah. Then obviously he needs to trigger a summon. I'm not sure. I don't know if I would have held back a Quick Launch. Possibly held back a Quick Launch. If I held that back, or if you held that back, you would then have a way to force the Adventure to get the Draco back without having to extend it much further. But okay, so that's the Adventure on the far right. So he's already learnt his lesson, or maybe that's because he's clogged up the 3 in the middle. So he's got the Adventure on the far right. He's got the ability for a level 8 Synchro. He's going to activate Sprint. Sprint gives the ability to bounce a card back, I believe, which is really, really cool. I believe it does target, but right now there's not really anything that's providing targeting protection. He's obviously got the Toad Omni negate as well, and he's got a Spell and Trap negate with Carrot. So he's going to bounce a Tracer back to the hand, which I suppose Aiden doesn't worry too much about, because your normal summon's a Tracer, trigger the Adventure. That's with the attempt to try and get the Draco back. He's going to use Carrot to negate by tributing off the Bujinke. So that means there's going to be no Draco back for you. Oh, hang on. That's not right. I need to try to use the effect of Tracer, which he's activated right this turn. You can't do. I'm assuming. Oh, no. Have they missed that? Or what? What? Who? Huh? No, that's not how this game works, guys. Oh, no. He's negating and destroying. Apologies. He's negating and destroying. And then I think he tried to use Tracer, and then Shane reminded him it's been summoned under a Rite of Armoresis, so you can't use Tracer. Probably could have used Tracer when it was special summoned. Anyway, so he's activated Smashes, banishing the Sprint, banishing the Tracer. I mean, would you have popped the token? I mean, with Carrot on the board, you probably could have arguably popped the token as a risk to get the Tracer to resolve. But, because then you would have Tracer would have replaced itself and then returned to the hand. So, that would have been kind of cool. Because then you would have had the normal summon and still be able to continue some plays from there. Maybe. I'm not sure how far he can go from here. So, he's got Dark the Dark Charmer. Unless he's trying to hold back something. He's already used his normal summon. He's used 2 quick launches and he's used the right. We know, his opponent doesn't know, but we know that one card in the hand is... is that an Imperm? Or is that the new tech? Please tell me that's the new tech. Lol. So that's... I think it's like Ascendance of the Archfiend. Again, I'll have to double check this because I don't know the exact text off the top of my head. But it's basically a card that is like D-Barrier, that you flip it and your opponent cannot summon monsters of the same types you already control. So it would let him bring a card back from the graveyard with Dark, but then he wouldn't be able to go into a Link monster anyway. So you're not going anywhere. Anyway, as they side again, I will skip this forward, so do not worry about the timer at the bottom. Okay, so we're going back at it. This is game 3. There is 8.5 minutes left on the clock. We're going to see who is going to take this all-important game 3. So, Aiden has priority to choose who's going to go. I'm assuming he's going to go first. And if I remember correctly, this hand was not nice to him. It was not kind at all. I think there was a driver in there. There was... Galaxy Spiral Dragon. Trying to think what else there was. Basically, there was a lot of high level monsters. I think there was D Barrier. So there's D Barrier, Black Collapse, D Barrier, Black Collapse, Driver, Galaxy Serpent, and one other card. And I think he even top deck. He doesn't top deck that well. So spoiler, I'm afraid. It does not end well for him. So we're going to normal summon the blue. Is he opening up 2 blues again? Oh, wait, huh? Who? Huh? What? Has he actually passed? Assume his opponent's drawn. What? Okay, no idea what happened there. We're going to normal summon the blue. Any response on the blue? Summon limit. TT. Special and down blue. Anything on that one as he searches. Have you met Blue? So Blue is going to search out a Jet, and then I think at this point, because it is a D-Barrier, you kind of want to flip it, even at the off chance that you might early doors, maybe fearing a D-Barrier, go into a Gigantic. Yes, you can still negate it, but why let him get that monster on the board? I mean, I suppose if he did let it get on the board, he would take less damage because it would then be a 16 rather than a 22 hit, but D-Barrier, special summon down Jet. Jet's effect searches you out starter. Arguably could have gone for Smashes. That would have at least kind of... It would have given you another form of interruption, but then you had no way of getting... Well, you can still link off, can't you? So link off, get the monster in the graveyard, and then continue to poke away from there. Again, apologies on the life points, guys. Like I said, it's a new system, new setup, so I haven't really got the capabilities to edit exactly as it shows in post. So it's just the way that I recorded these duels. So I will note that in the future and change it up. Do not worry. So carrying on, special summon down, search out starter. You could get greedy. You could activate starter, summon it down, and just attempt to go, Spright beat down, which would end up being like 1,400, not 1,400, 4,000. But I would probably hold it back just in case. If your opponent's bricked on stuff, your opponent could have bricked on Dart Rulers or anything like that. So you might as well go ham a little bit. So you're going to poke, poke, and poke. So that's a total of something like 34, I believe. 3,400 damage. I mean, you could ultimately activate starters during the battle phase as well. But going into the extra deck, obviously you can't go into XYZ, so no Gigantic, no route to Zeus or anything like that. Still will give him a route to Elf. Elf can use the ability to bring back, which is exactly what he's going to do, keeping in mind that they've already used their effects. Viola. Okay, not ideal for Aiden, sadly. And then I think his top deck is Noctivision. So his hand will now be Driver, Galaxy Spiral, Noctivision, and Black Collapse. So, the Veiler makes sense now, actually, because then you drop the Veiler, you make Black Collapse. He's going to activate Noctivision in hand. Oh, spooky dogwood. Now, this is actually... I was saying this to them. He was trying to offer the handshake. This was a very bad time to actually dogwood. Yes, it would stop Aiden playing. Like, he would have to end his turn here. But if he did end his turn here, he would then half Shane's life points because he wouldn't have gained any life points from the Noctivision. So, yeah, it is. I think at this point, you kind of go, all right, how deep do I want to go into this? How, especially with 4 minutes left on the clock, how far do you want to go? So, Striker Dragon, K, and then Black Collapse. So, you either play through Dogwood to go for game, which is obviously going to be very tough because to get to game, you've got to get 8,000 damage on the board from 0 anyway. And then to get 8,000 damage on the board, you would have already given your opponent 8,000, if that makes sense. Because to do that amount of damage, you're going to need to give your opponent that amount of life, which is very, very tricky. So personally, when you look at the board state, Phantasma as well. Woof. When you look at the board state, you had a Black Collapse that at current your opponent couldn't beat over. And you had a Noctivision in defense, which again your opponent couldn't beat over. So you pass that to your opponent, they half their life points, you go down to 4,000. You then, obviously your opponent would then still be able to play because you would be able to go, okay, cool, Elf, bring back, Blue searches out Carrot, and then you've got XYZ plays the next turn. So it is pretty much futile, but I think the route that he's going now is just going to absolutely rocket Shane's life points and pretty much guarantee the win for his own plays. I like Dogwood as a good tech because I think it's very difficult to stop. Like, you need Call By, you'll need like an Omni Negate, but it's rare that your opponent will do that. And as long as you activate it, when they activate a card that will guarantee to summon a monster, whether it only give you 100 life points or not, you have to activate it. You just need to make sure that the monster hasn't got 0 attack. So if it's got 0 attack, you'll get nothing apart from halving your life points. Especially like two and a bit minutes on the board. Constantly being able to summon back or constantly summoning is just going to keep boosting resource for Shane. It's going to boost life points. Obviously, Blue is now going to be able to search out Jets, who's now got a follow-up for the next turn. I believe, if I remember rightly, Shane's other card in hand, there was like a second Dogwood, which is mad. So I think Aiden's kind of just opened up that point where it's like, well, if he had a bit more time, I suppose the route that you would take is you would go, right, I'm going to go absolutely ham. So I think he's just scooping up here. So you look at his hand was like Noctivision, Spiral Dragon, Driver, and just no playable cards at all, sadly. Okay, so Spright take that one. We didn't get to see as much of the Dragon Link as we would have, not Dragon Link, sorry, the Bystials that we would have liked, but the ones that we did see were really, really kind of cool, and you can kind of see how they help re-innovate Dragon Link. But for now, I think Aiden's going to go back and do a bit of tweaking, decide if he actually wants the adventure package, and then work it from there. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, guys, as absolutely always, stay safe. And of course, happy dueling.